Good morning, everybody. Oh man, this is kind of an emotional day for us. Decade ago, Zach and I kind of had a crazy idea that we wanted to make a difference in the world, and that's what brought us to today. So thank you for being here. Before we get started, I just kind of wanted to go over a little bit about the ground rules for today. I know I've had an opportunity to shake most of your hands and say hello, but the reason that we came up with this crazy idea is that Bitcoin mining has a little bit of mystery to it, and the Bitcoin industry isn't as broadly accepted in some investment communities as other investment opportunities. So we thought, what's the best way to allow people to get more comfortable, to kind of understand what it is that we do, why we do it, how we do it, but most importantly, who does it? And so we have our representatives from our team here today, and the whole purpose is to make sure that as investors, you all are owners of this company, you're our partners, and we don't take that lightly. So we wanted to pull back the curtains. We wanted to create an opportunity that you can understand and ask questions and take pictures and take video and most importantly, interact with the people every day. So maybe we can remove a bit of that mystery. Maybe we can create an environment in Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining that this is really about empowering people. It's about making a difference in communities. It's about helping people, bank people that don't have banking relationships and support the Bitcoin ecosystem and build in the small communities that we built in throughout Georgia, Mississippi, and soon to be far beyond that. So we're very, very excited to have you join us today. Special guests here in the front row, Orly and Rose Nickerson. Zach and I, we started this company and we had an energy technology. We were building a device that could convert any carbonaceous feedstock into a clean fuel to create energy from waste, and kind of the perfect solution. And that's how we met and kind of how it all started. And I went to meet with an investor, and we were in Salt Lake City, and he pointed across the valley when I asked if he'd be interested in investing in our company, and he pointed at the Utah State Prison. And he said, here's why I don't want to invest in a private company. He said, the people in that building, at least they know when they can get out. He said, you invest in a private company, you never know when you're going to get your investment out. So they said, maybe you should think about going public. So I met Zach as a young 25-year-old man, and we talked about the best, most efficient way to get public. And we found a publicly traded company that their core business no longer existed. So we acquired that company and kind of merged our assets in. And way back at that early stage, I reached out to a good friend of mine and a mentor, Orly. And Orly was the first guy to write a check and loaned us the money to buy the company that became CleanSpark. So this is full circle. So apologies for the emotion. We're so blessed and so honored to have all of you here today as our partners, as our friends, as our shareholders and our investors, and mostly as our team. So with that, we want to get started with a quick presentation, but I'd like to give Zach an opportunity to say a couple of words.
Thanks again for everybody making it out. Something I think that's really great too, by having you as retail investors come out, you'll notice that we made it about retail investing, not about the institutions. I was in New York City yesterday before I flew out here, and I was at the Alliance Bernstein conference. And I'm presenting to you hedge fund managers, people that manage tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. And what always blows me away is how little they still understand about the industry. And they're making big bets, and they only understand a very small piece of the story. Knowledge is power, and that's what you guys are hopefully going to get today, to really understand what's going on. Everybody saw what's happened in the last couple of years, and many people in this room are on Twitter and things like that. But the fallacy of this dumb money versus smart money. Things have changed, and the reality is the institutional investors are paying attention to what you guys are doing too, because you're going to be the ones here. You're going to be the ones that are going to get to see behind the curtains. You're putting in the work where some of the hedge funds aren't putting in the work. So congratulations to you guys for making the trip. We really appreciate it. But hopefully you guys learned something and are able to take a lot away from it. So again, thank you for being part of the CleanSpark family. This is your company just as much as it's Matt and I's companies and the employees' companies. So thanks for joining us on this journey. So go ahead, Matt.
Awesome. So we're going to talk about a lot of numbers today. And the majority of the numbers that we're going to talk about are statements of fact. But when we talk about things in the future, things that we forecast, things that we believe, we anticipate, those are called forward-looking statements. So because we're a publicly traded company, as a matter of disclosure, just wanted to put forward that unless we talk about something as a statement of fact, that it is a forward-looking statement. And obviously, before you make an investment in any company, you should seek advice from a professional financial advisor. This is not an attempt to sell anybody anything. The vast majority of you all are already our partners, and for that, we're beyond grateful. But as a point of disclosure, if you have any further questions, reach out to one of us or contact an investment advisor. So just down the street here in College Park, Georgia, Zach was contacted by a company that was looking to add an energy solution to a Bitcoin mining facility. So to add a little bit on to our energy technology, Zach and I built a company where we would create small power grids, microgrids, if you will, that we deployed at military bases and commercial applications, commercial and industrial applications, that would allow them to offset their energy expense with renewable energy, but also create energy resiliency. So if the power went out at a mission critical component of Marine Corps Base, Camp Pendleton, it would revert over to our system and they would have stored power for mission critical components like navigation and guidance and communication. So we built a portfolio of technology around energy, interconnections with the grid, demand response, selling power back. And so we built this energy resiliency. It was all about efficiency, peak shaving, load balancing, how to optimize the value of energy. And so when we stepped into the College Park facility back in 2020, Zach was originally going to look at the site to potentially provide them an energy solution. And he reached out to me and he said, be patient here, just hear me through this. What if instead of selling them a microgrid, what if we buy a Bitcoin mining facility? Because Bitcoin mining is all about energy, and there's nobody in the Bitcoin mining space that understands energy quite the way that we do. So we took a flyer. It was a measured approach. We did a tremendous amount of due diligence to understand the industry. And in December of 2020, we mined our very first Bitcoin. Zach likes to say we were some of the last kids on the bus. There were already a lot of really well-established Bitcoin mining companies. But since December of 2020, we've grown to be the second largest Bitcoin mining company by market cap in the world. We've done that by being disciplined and prudent, using the investment capital that we have. And what we've done here, you see on the chart behind us, when we started, Zach was on a panel and he said, we're going to be infrastructure first. We want to own our facilities. We want to own the relationships with the utilities. We want to own the power contracts. And we believe that's the most important. And that was not the most popular thing to do at the time. Everybody said, nah, we'll just buy machines and throw them somewhere and plug them in. What you're going to see today is an example of owning our own facilities and exactly why that resulted in us being the fastest growing Bitcoin mining company in the world. So you see operational leader, that talks about the production, the hash rate that we have. The next chart is our balance sheet. $1.54 billion in assets. This is as of the end of our last quarter, $681 million in cash. We were joking last night at an event that we were excited. There was a young guy here in the audience, Ben Briggs from Rex Finance, and he was reminding us that we were struggling to hit $10 million a year in revenue, and now we're at $181 million in adjusted EBITDA in a quarter. So we pride ourselves and the people that surround the room on efficiently and effectively using that capital. So the bottom left-hand corner is something that's real important, and that's the joules per terahash. And I don't want to get overly technical. You can ask a lot of the guys in the room about that. They're much smarter than I am. What it basically means is our fleet consumes less power to do the same calculations that other fleets, other companies take substantially more energy to do. So that energy efficiency sets us apart. What that means is we can mine more Bitcoin for less dollars. So the CleanSpark Way, if you've ever looked at anything we've done on Twitter, on social media, we talk extensively about the CleanSpark Way. And that's not just the facilities, it's not just the energy contracts, it's not just the equipment, it's not just the people, but it's all these things. And it's the way that they work in harmony that make us what we believe to be different. So efficiency is at the forefront. That comes out of our energy DNA. Power accessibility. Georgia is a great place to do business, and we've continued to pursue opportunities in other small jurisdictions where our investment in power infrastructure and utilities not only give us and our shareholders great exposure to power at very favorable rates, but also make a meaningful impact in the communities in which we do business. We push revenue back to those communities in the margins with the utilities, in the taxes we pay on that energy, in the jobs that we create, and we're making a meaningful difference in many of these small towns and plan to continue to do that. As you see on the bottom right-hand corner, community engagement. We're here today in Norcross, Georgia, in beautiful Gwinnett County. When we started here, we told the community we were going to spend $154 million in this beautiful facility, in the equipment, the infrastructure, and the people. We sponsor scholarships locally in computer science technology with the idea that we want to educate our future workforce. And the beauty of our workforce, I don't say that as a disparaging thing. Everybody that you see with the CleanSpark lanyard that's part of our team, they're all owners of the company. Everybody here that touches a computer, that mines Bitcoin, everybody that services a computer, everybody that plugs one in, everybody that runs a facility and protects us and keeps us all safe, we're all owners of the same company. So our interests are completely aligned. Everybody's pulling the same direction all the time, and we're doing that by continuing to expand in the communities. So growth. 163% year over year revenue growth, 145% year over year hash rate growth. Some of these terms, they sound confusing. Hash rate is really just the computing power that we have as a percentage of the global network. If you want to understand more about it, please grab one of our guys and we'll explain it. We're going to do a tour when we wrap up here after we do Q&A. But let us know if any of these terms. We don't use acronyms and terms to be misleading or as a distraction. They're just industry standard terms. So if you want to understand more deeply what they mean, feel free to ask us. We have a market-driven strategy. A lot of companies say, hey, we have fixed power at X number of pennies per kilowatt hour. We've chosen to take a different approach. And I'm going to take just 1 minute for a quick distraction and tell you why that's important. If I ask a small utility to guarantee me power at a fixed price, if there's a global event, for example, what happened in Ukraine, if energy prices, if oil prices change, that puts pressure on that local utility. They're now contracted to sell me power at or below their cost. That doesn't serve the community, it doesn't serve the utility, and it doesn't strengthen Bitcoin's relationship with the global investment community. We chose instead to take a market-driven approach. We buy power at what the utility pays, and we allow them a small margin. So when we buy power, they make money. So it's a win-win for everybody. And as a result, we've been able to outperform and be more successful than many of the companies that paraded around a fixed price strategy. Something else that's important that we want to have transparency on. You see a lot of companies talk about we have 2-cent power or 3-cent power. You can see on our graph here, we have wholesale power rates as low as 1.3 cents. Now, does that mean our power bill is 1.3 cents per kilowatt hour? It does not. What that means is that's the wholesale cost of power. Now, you can't run your pickup truck down to the power station and load up a load of electricity. So you have to pay to get it here. And those are called transmission and distribution charges. Over and above that, you pay sales tax on the sale of the utility in the community. So there are costs that go on top of that. And what we shared is all of those costs baked in, complete, plugged into the machines and producing Bitcoin hash rate, it's about 4.5 cents per kilowatt hour. But that's still among the best in all of our industry. The most important thing is the communities benefit from that investment. So the bottom right-hand corner talks about the price that we paid for computers. Many of our peers, when the market got real exciting back in 2020 and 2021, leveraged the farm. They went into debt, they diluted shareholders, and they bought machines at $80, $90, $100 per terahash of processing power. We took a different path. We understood the energy markets, and Zach made the call. Look at the future pricing models of energy in the United States. Look at where we are with natural gas pricing, what the forecasts are. And instead of betting the farm and buying computers at a premium price, Zach made the call that we're going to sell all the Bitcoin we have because difficulty is going to go up, energy prices are going to go up. So we sold Bitcoin when prices were high. We put that money aside and we bought this facility and a number of other facilities. And when the bull market peaked and it started to come down, all of those companies that went kind of over leveraged on buying that equipment ended up having to sell those, fire sales, distressed sales. They couldn't even take delivery of those machines. So the machines that they ordered and paid deposits at $85 or $90 a terahash, Zach and Gary and the team were able to negotiate the purchase of those machines as low as $16 a terahash. So we sold Bitcoin when it was high. We invested in infrastructure. We waited for equipment prices to come down. We seized those opportunities, which allows us to have the lowest average cost per terahash of any of the major fleets in North America. HODL, that was initially a typo for those of you that don't know. They meant hold, but it's become kind of a rallying cry for the Bitcoin industry, and HODL means hold on for dear life, because it's a crazy ride. And so you can see that, back in April of 22, when Bitcoin prices were low, we didn't have a huge balance of Bitcoin, but we sat together in a room and we talked about what's the best interest of our shareholder, and that is return. It doesn't do you any good if we have a bunch of cash sitting in the bank, right? So we looked at it, and you hear us talk a lot about accretive. When we sell a share of stock to create revenue or to create cash to invest in our business, we have some methodologies, and that has to be accretive, meaning it has to return more value than the dilution impact within a couple of fiscal quarters, or we don't do it. And so one of the things we looked at that's accretive in nature is Bitcoin. So you can see that our Bitcoin holdings increased, and the yellow line on the chart is the price of Bitcoin. So we've been really successful at gauging the market. Now, nobody has a crystal ball, but the models and the analysis and the data-driven results that we have are really what leads these decisions. So we've made calls when we're going to hold Bitcoin, and instead of selling Bitcoin to pay for our operating expense, we may sell equity to cover the operating expense to allow us to hold more Bitcoin. And that sounds crazy, but there's a reason why. So there's a lot of noise today in the market about Bitcoin ETFs. So CleanSpark is fortunate to have among the largest institutional investment bases in all of the publicly traded Bitcoin mining space. As the Bitcoin ETFs started to gain popularity, the question was, is there going to be a rotation out of mining companies like CleanSpark into Bitcoin ETFs, because many people can't or don't understand the ability to hold Bitcoin personally. So Bitcoin miners were really seen as a proxy to an investment in Bitcoin. So the concern was, is capital going to rotate out of Bitcoin miners and into the ETFs? This chart is kind of an explanation as to why that hasn't happened and why CleanSpark has continued to have some success. So our team ran some models, and this number is a snapshot in time. This is based on global difficulty right now, the price of Bitcoin right now, and the weekly average of our energy cost. So Bitcoin's currently almost $70,000 a coin. So what you can see is our all-in cost to mine a Bitcoin is about $36,000. So by using equity to pay our bills and keeping Bitcoin at $36,000 that's worth double that on our balance sheet, we're returning greater value to our shareholders, which has always been our target, our priority. So a Bitcoin spot ETF, by definition, they acquire Bitcoin at the spot market. So if you were to invest in one of those ETFs, you absolutely gain exposure to Bitcoin, which is, I think, what we're all interested in. The difference is by investing in a miner, an efficient miner like CleanSpark that holds the majority of the Bitcoin that we mine, you're getting exposure to Bitcoin at a much lower price, giving a much greater margin. So we have industry-leading efficiency, and that goes back to the joules per terahash. Joules is a technical term. You could really substitute it with watts, but we like to sound smart. So that's how many watts it takes to process 1 terahash of data. We own 3.9 million square feet of real estate and infrastructure. What you're going to see today is a former Sprint Nextel data center. When we bought this thing, it had pink carpeting and brown cubicles, and it was pretty blighted. It was ugly. We walked in here, and Zach was real excited to show it to me, and I was less excited. I'm real excited to show it to you today. But that comes with a lot of hard work from all the people in this room. One of the last things you're going to see on the tour, and something that we're very proud of, is that we have a repair lab. You're going to see microscopes and cameras and big screens, and there are people in this room that literally have the ability to do repairs on our computers all the way down to the microchip level. It's important because we have about 150,000 machines running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And by doing that, prior to opening our lab, we were sending out about 1,000 machines a month. So what that means is y'all have put up cash that we've invested in buying a $10,000 box. And if that box is plugged in, it's making us all money. But if it's broken, if a fan's gone bad, or a power supply unit, or a chipset has an issue, and it has to come off the shelf and be boxed up and sent back to a repair facility, it's not making any of us any money. So CleanSpark has industry-leading uptime, and one of the reasons that we have that is when that machine breaks, we have a spare machine that goes right back in the slot. It gets pulled out, and Bashal and his team put it back in our lab, and we're now doing 1,000 machines a month that we're doing those repairs on site. That machine is fixed, it's put back in the queue, and when another one goes down, we pull it out and put it right back in, giving us among the highest uptime realized hash rate of any company in the industry. And it's all about maximizing the value. So energy expertise, 4.3 cents per kilowatt hour. That's all in cost. You're going to see a lot of numbers in the industry that say 2 cent power, 3 cent power. Please be aware that many of the times that doesn't represent what it actually takes to get the power to the facility. And then we talk about massive scale. That 17.3 exahash puts us among the largest Bitcoin miners in the world. We own and operate almost 90% of our facilities. We have one co-location facility in a former Alcoa aluminum smelter located on a dam in Messina, New York. So we buy that abundant hydroelectric power with a partner. We actually worked with them on an energy solution, which is how we came to know those folks. And it's a great relationship for us. So aside from that facility in New York, we literally own every rack, every building, every transformer, every switch, every shelf, and everybody that touches a machine is an owner of the company. So it's just kind of a quick overview of our infrastructure. We did a breakdown of power costs so you can kind of understand, and I'm not going to bore you with all the minutia, but you can look at that chart and kind of understand the wholesale cost of power and then all of the associated costs to get that power transported to our facility. And there's a quote from Gary Vecchiarelli here that talks about our margins. And that's obviously the most important thing. Everything that we do is a measure twice, cut once approach. And so when we make a decision, when we put out a press release, when there's an announcement, it's not something that we just had a crazy idea about. It's run through different models. We make decisions in real time. So the lights in this room, they're on a switch that you turn on and off. Bitcoin mining computers have a switch that you turn on and off. Our team has kind of hijacked that. Okay, we've hacked into those systems and we've created solutions that enable us to put that machine more on a dimmer. If the price of energy goes up or the price of Bitcoin comes down, we can dim that machine just a little bit. And what does that do? It consumes less power. Now, it puts out less light or less power, but it consumes less energy. And what that does is that allows us to expand the margins even when utility prices are higher or Bitcoin prices are lower. So those are active models that Taylor and their team are running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we make those adjustments in real time to maximize the return for all of our shareholders. So we talk about the fact that we're growing to 50 exahash within the next year. We talk about the fact that that's fully funded. So on one of the earlier slides, I shared with you that we had, as of the end of March, well over $600 million in cash and Bitcoin. Those numbers change every day because we're actively mining Bitcoin. We're actively growing that balance sheet. So the obligation to pay for those machines, we have more than enough cash on hand to take care of those obligations. Does that mean we're not going to continue to raise capital? Absolutely not. We're buying new facilities, new opportunities every day. But if the history can be an indicator of the future, Since we started this crazy journey, Zach and I have raised about $1.5 billion from folks like yourselves and other institutions. However, the most important thing to note is that as of today, that $1.5 billion investment, if you look at the market cap on the NASDAQ, it's greater than $4 billion. So what that means is we're returning substantially more value to our shareholders than the impact of the shares that we've sold to get here, and we have no debt. So we like to call ourselves America's Bitcoin miner. We focused on building in communities where we can make a difference. Hardworking, rural American towns where people are looking for opportunity. We've created a revenue stream for these small communities that otherwise wouldn't exist. Towns that industry has abandoned and left, but they had built the infrastructure to support steel facilities or to support manufacturing facilities that are no longer there. We can go in, we can partner up with those communities, buy that power, create meaningful revenue, drive down utility rates in those communities. And there was even a program on a TV station here in Atlanta where the economic impact development director from one of the communities talked about the fact that the sales tax and the revenue margins on the power sold to CleanSpark has created a surplus to the extent that in that community, it's actually pushing property taxes down for those residents. So we really pride ourselves on being good corporate citizens and being good members of the communities in which we operate that have entrusted us not only with the infrastructure, but the ability to continue to grow and support those towns. This is kind of an overview of the facilities that we have and the number of machines. I think the most important part is in the middle of that screen, the very bottom line, where you see that 98.95%. What that means is if you look at all the computers that we own, 98.95% of the time, those are up and running, making money for all of our shareholders. That's a big number. There are companies in our industry that are in the top 5 biggest by market cap in the world, and that number is in the 60% range or the 70% range. So what that means is their shareholders have invested machines that 3 or 4 out of every 10 are not making money as of today. So we pride ourselves on that efficiency. Now that doesn't come by accident. That comes with a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, a lot of commitment. We have teams that are incentivized. They're motivated to make sure that those machines are up and running because just like all of you, they happen to be owners of the company. We got guys that roll out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning when a transformer breaks and they're on the phone finding a crane to pull that off and put a new one in because they want to make sure that their team is the most successful out of the company in any given month. So we've created this great competitive environment where everybody is working together to outperform each other. So it's a lot of fun. Last thing, again, just to talk about community impact again, we reinvest a lot of dollars in the communities in which we operate. Zach coined the phrase, we have a front door approach. Many of our competitors, many other Bitcoin miners will go negotiate with utilities that may have surplus power without consideration for noise ordinance, without consideration for the impact of water, without consideration for the impact that the demand puts on the utility grid. They're more interested in a what's in it for me approach. Our approach has always been through the front door. We want to meet with the communities. We want to meet with the leaders. We want to meet with our neighbors. We want to be good neighbors. We don't want to create an eyesore or a sound inconvenience. Nobody wants to hear an industrial facility popped up. So you may have noticed when you drove in here, there are 3 high-density housing units in the immediate area. When we did our ribbon cutting here a year ago and welcomed the community, we had the mayor, we had representatives from the state of Georgia, we had national representatives here. The vast majority of the community members that came over to see what in the heck is going on in this old building had no idea what we do. That's because we've really strived to be responsible and sensitive to the impact we make. So when you walk through this facility, I don't mean to imply that all of our facilities are like this. Some of them have big fans outside that cool the machines. But this is what you'll see today is a state-of-the-art, probably one of the most technologically advanced Bitcoin mining facilities in the world. In fact, when we hosted Brady Dale, who's a journalist for Axios, he's been covering cryptocurrency since 2011. We hosted him at our facility, and we had a hedge fund manager that joined, and the hedge fund manager said, man, this is exciting. This is the first Bitcoin mining facility I've ever seen. I'm going to go see a bunch more. And Brady Dale put his hand on his shoulder and he said, prepare to be disappointed. So what you're seeing today is the flagship of what all the folks in this room have worked very hard to do with your investment dollars, and we don't take that lightly. So from me to you, thank you for your faith and confidence in our company. Thank you for being a CleanSpark shareholder. Thank you for taking your meaningful time to travel to be here with us today and see exactly what it is we're doing with your dollars.